Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning for our webinar on the evolution of mining lubricants in a changing regulatory landscape. I'm Sharon Norris, and I'm pleased to be your moderator for today's session. Before we get started with our experts today, let me first cover some basic housekeeping items. First off, you'll notice that this webinar is browser-based. So if you disconnect for any reason, just click on the link you received via email to rejoin our session in progress. During today's event, there'll be plenty of time to ask questions. And the way you can do that for us today, while we leave time at the end of the webinar, is to type your questions in the question widget, should be on the bottom of your screen, and click submit. At the end of our prepared content, we'll leave time to answer as many questions as possible. And if we don't get a chance to answer your question, we'll make sure to follow up with you after today's session. At the end of the webinar, we'll invite you to fill out a short survey to share your feedback with us. And if at any time you require assistance, please use the help widget to access help. And lastly, remember, you can move, resize, or maximize any of the windows in front of you to get the best possible view of our slides. We have three experts from Petro-Canada Lubricants joining us today. First off, we have Sarah Sitters. Sarah is a marketing segment manager for our mining sector. Sarah works closely with our business partners to understand market shifts, regulatory pressures, and what mine operators value most. Next with us today, we have Dr. Mariam Mohagegi. Mariam is our R&D product specialist for some of our key mining products. She focuses on lubricant formulation, additive chemistry, and ensuring new products meet both technical and regulatory demands. And last but certainly not least, we have Bashad Saba. Bashad is one of our technical services advisors here at Petro-Canada Lubricants. And he works directly in the field with our mining operators, helping them integrate lubricants into their real-world operations, validate the lubricant performance, and of course, ensure that all-important reliability. Together, our three experts will guide us through the key challenges facing mining lubrication today and how Petro-Canada Lubricants is helping mine operators address those. We'll conclude, like I said, with a summary and a Q&A. So just a last reminder, don't forget to use that Q&A widget feature at the bottom to log your questions as they arise, and we'll address them at the end of the presentation. All right, let's dive in. Mariam, I'm going to start with you. Regulations are evolving quickly, probably quicker than we've ever seen in the past. How is that affecting lubricant design, and what do mine operators need to know?
Sure. Actually, one of the biggest drivers of change in lubricant formulations is regulations now. In regulatory board for chemicals, frameworks like REACH, TSCA, and GHS dictate classification, labeling, and restrictions, and agencies like ECHA in Europe and EPA in the US and others tighten rules around additives and chemicals based on what frameworks dictate. I can give you a few examples of additives in the mining sector that are facing reclassifications and restrictions. For example, some type of ZDDPs, zinc dialkyl thiophosphate, which are used for anti-wear protection, and they are under review for restrictions because of some environmental and toxicological concerns. Another example is certain alkylated phenols, which are used in phenate detergents, and they are under review for restrictions as well. Another one is TPPT triphenyl thiophosphate, which is anti-wear and also extreme pressure additive, and it is facing reclassifications. In terms of changes in regulations, they can range from updates to classifications and labeling requirements to restrictions. And such restrictions may require reformulation of products to include compliant components. When we engage in reformulation, we need to make an optimal balance between maintaining or even improving performance, controlling cost, and also ensuring future-proof compliance.
Yeah, I know lubricant formulations certainly can be what you described, a delicate balance. So that sounds like a challenge. I mean, I can't even pronounce half of those components in our lubricants. So, with all the regulatory changes that are driving quite a big need for reformulation, how are you ensuring performance isn't compromised when you take out those well known legacy additives?
That's where innovation comes in. Reformulation focuses on keeping performance the same or even improving. And in the mining industry, companies prefer not to change formulations, and so traditional ones often stay in use for many years. However, regulations can force reformulation and create a chance to use improved next generation chemistries that they deliver both improved performance and long-term regulatory compliance. For example, in mining equipment, particularly in driveline lubricant formulations, traditional additives often include ZDDP, in which zinc acts as a carrier for phosphorus, and phosphorus forms polyphosphate films that protect against wear. So because of regulatory concerns with ZDDPs, we as lubricant manufacturers must act proactively and reformulate our products. And in reformulation process, we have the opportunity to invest in innovation and adopt next generation additives, which in this case, it's innovative phosphorus anti-wear. If innovative phosphorus anti-wear chemistries are designed properly, so they do not need a carrier and activate effectively at lower treat rates and often with better load carrying properties. And this results in improved performance without relying on zinc, which is not ashless and can be harmful to the environment. And that means that you get the same or better anti-wear protection while staying compliant with evolving regulations.
Well, better performance definitely sounds promising from what you're seeing in the lab there. Bashad, maybe I'll come to you to bring a field perspective. How are these regulatory changes that are just described impacting mine operators in their field operations?
Thanks, Sharon. Regulatory frameworks like, as Mariam said, REACH, GHS, EPA, TSCA, or Proposition 65, they are reshaping and reforming the chemistry and the formulation of the lubricant in the mining industry. And these changes are affecting the operation in the few ways in the mining operation. Like companies now require more biodegradable, low toxicity, no toxicity, low ash, no ash, EAL, environmental friendly lubricants. New hazard classification like H304, aspiration toxicity, means change in label, PPE requirements, and storage rules and regulations. At the same time, these new formulation should work and be compatible with the OEM old and legacy equipment, component, parts, seals, paints, and so on and so forth, which means from our technology team, R&D, and technical service advisors, we should be in contact with the OEM technical department to learn about the materials, new technology, and equipment that they have to adopt this new formulation with those criteria of success. So these are the ways that these rules and regulation will affect operation in mining industry.
Yeah, Bashad, that sounds like a lot of information and a lot of change to manage. That's on top of what our miners already are dealing with. Sarah, I'm going to come to you to handle this one. From a marketing and communication standpoint, how are you helping customers understand some of these complex changes?
Well, I think the key word that you just said there, Sharon, is the word complex. I mean, listening to a little bit of what Mariam and Bashad have just started to scratch the surface on there, without a doubt, we completely understand and appreciate that all of these regulatory updates, the changing information, it can be intimidating, absolutely. And so that's why we really feel that it's our job to simplify communication and really distill down all of this complex information into bite-sized pieces that our customers can understand and then implement into their operations. So we really do believe as a core value that the responsibility of thoroughly understanding the complexities of all of these regulatory changes rests with us, the lubricant supplier. So we place really high importance on being knowledgeable and well-informed in the field so that we can then offer that insight back to our customers as a value-add service and communicate with them in a manner that is simple and easy to understand. In terms of communicating complex changes, we really like simple visual references. We like customer-facing brochures, and we do commonly assume a market leadership role as well in terms of being the first to market with some of these new and emerging technologies that you heard Miriam speak about just a moment ago. An example of one of these timelines is shown on the screen here at the bottom. So in this case, we are illustrating, some of the regulatory changes coming down the line for ZDDP and TPPT in 2027 and beyond, all of which will have a really significant impact on the formulations for lubricants in the mining sector. And finally, we understand the importance of meeting evolving regulatory requirements without a doubt, improving sustainability, being first to market, all of that is wonderful. But at the same time, we completely recognize and prioritize that this can never come at the expense of product performance, as we know that ultimately that is what is most important to our customers at the end of the day. So we place really, really high value on ensuring that whatever regulatory changes are coming in, as Miriam said, we're looking for innovative solutions to maintain or improve the performance of our products while making the necessary regulatory adjustments. So in short, we aren't looking to just give our customers a new product. We really are looking to sort of guide them through the transition and walk beside them to show them how evolving formulations can benefit their operations at the end of the day.
Yeah, thanks, team, for the good overview of the regulatory pressures that are faced by the industry. I think it's really important. We took a 10-minute overview there, but I feel like we've spent years working on this. Even in the last week alone, it felt like years. So thanks for that overview. I think I'll move now to talking about the environment. I feel our mine operators are often telling us they're dealing with more demanding conditions than ever before. And this is on top of the complexity of increased regulatory and, of course, environmental scrutiny. I'm going to stay with you, Sarah. What's driving this, and what does it mean for your lubricants?
Yeah, so over the past 3 to 5 years, we have really observed several trends that are having a really significant impact on the lubricants that customers need to service their mine operations. So a few things that I'll stand out that I can maybe pull out for the purpose of our session today. So I'd say the first one is just deeper and more remote mines. So the mining operating environment is becoming physically more and more demanding, and that's largely thanks to the depletion of easily accessible natural resources. So, quite simply put, mine operators are having to literally dig deeper underground or push further out into more remote locations because they need to keep up with increasing demand for those natural resources whose supply is rapidly depleting. So as more and more of those rich surface level resources have already been mined, as I said, we have to go deeper or we have to go further out. And in that case, the physical conditions can really present a physical challenge for the lubricants, such as blistering heat in remote desert mines to sub-zero temperatures in more northern regions. Additionally, mines are having to process larger volumes of material for less output as they're mining in less mineral-rich or nutrient-rich soil, which requires more equipment, longer processing times, higher speeds and temperatures, all which can place additional strain on the lubricants that serve the equipment. And that then becomes our challenge as the lubricant manufacturer, is to design lubricants that can withstand those challenging conditions. On the regulatory side and in the ESG side, in the past year, as you mentioned, Sharon, we've collectively seen probably more regulatory updates in the past year than we have in the past 10 years combined, I would say, in the industry. So across the mining industry, regulatory bodies really do continue to tighten the allowable limits for various components and increase the severity of those regulatory classifications as well. So those changes are giving real pause to mine operators who are now faced with the additional challenge to factor in, more stringent transportation requirements, more stringent operating and storage requirements, along with challenges for worker safety and the environment in which they operate. And then, all of that factored in, mine operators constantly have to manage their overall public perception as well. And so all of these tightening regulatory classification changes, labeling requirements, all of that puts additional strain on the mine as well in order to manage the public perception of their mine and to sort of put that additional public pressure on them to ensure that they are doing the right things for the customer, for the environment, for the wildlife in the area, and all of the stakeholders kind of associated with the operations. So, all of these competing pressures mean that our mine operators really can't afford lubricants that underperform. That really needs to be kind of the least of their worries when they're managing all of these competing pressures. So any downtime, unplanned maintenance, premature failures, that all translates into millions in lost productivity, and that can really severely impact the mine operator's reputation with their own customers as well.
Yeah, customers and I imagine shareholders too. We talk about productivity for sure, and that's a lot of moving parts, pun intended, that need to be dealt with by our mine operators. Bashad, I'm going to come to you because you're really out there in the trenches with our customers. So how does Petro-Canada Lubricants support mines that are facing some of the challenges that Sarah just described?
Sharon, we lead with performance and reliability. Our products are designed and formulated for those harsh environments in the mining industry. And the TSA team that we have has hundreds of years of experience in the mining industry to support the change there when and if it is needed. All of these environmental regulation and evolving OEM design necessitates the adaptation of the ultra-low zinc or next generation lubricant in mining industry, which means reducing the percentage of ZDDP and moly in the formulation. When we talk about the additive percentage reduction, people get worried because as we know, we add additive to either enhance the property of the base oil or add a property to the base oil. So by reducing that, the customer question is what happens to the performance? Our technology and R&D team, they employ a lot of techniques and technical solutions to this question. So by incorporating ashless or low ash additive packages, synthetic base oil, nano additives, so on and so forth, to maintain the performance of the new finished product and formulated product for the mines. From a technical service advisor, what we do the regular oil analysis to make sure the longer service intervals if possible, and check the performance of a formulated lubricants in operation, make sure that the reliability is there. We manage structured field trials and real-world data, including like oil analysis, mean time between failure tracking, to confirm performance in demanding conditions as we talk about it. We all know that effective lubricant reduce friction wear and unscheduled downtime, thereby decrease the waste and emission in the mining operation. Advanced technologies like ashless or boron-based chemistries, in short, help mines achieve maximum uptime reliability while reducing total cost of ownership and save money.
I know from experience, from working with you for a lot of years, that you're a vital link, as well as all the rest of our technical services advisors. You guys are a vital link from the field to share that knowledge internally. So, Miriam, from a formulation standpoint, how do you consider what Bashad and other TSAs tell you are mining operators' unique challenges, and then in response design lubricants to perform under those extreme conditions?
Actually, lubricant formulations are made from base oils and additives. And both additive chemistries and base oils quality have impact on the performance of the final lubricant. Most regulatory concerns focus on the additive components of lubricants. For example, some type of ZDDPs are now subject to regulatory restrictions. Their function is mainly as anti-wear. However, besides their main function, they have notable side effects. ZDDPs can decompose to several pathways, resulting in sulfur and phosphorus atoms onto surfaces. And in most cases, more sulfur than phosphorus reaches the surface. Sulfur is highly effective for anti-scuffing because it smooths iron surfaces by forming iron sulfide and iron sulfate. But excess sulfur can lead to excessive micropitting. It also promotes copper corrosion and copper and steel wear because sulfur reacts with copper to form black copper sulfide, which is not wanted. Next generation innovative anti-wear chemistries are specifically designed to deliver improved wear performance with minimal side effects that traditional anti-wears they have. They do not require high activation energy to function, and unlike ZDDPs, they contain no zinc. So they eliminate the risk of zinc becoming embedded in the pores of certain friction materials, propagating glazing of friction surfaces and thus clutch slippage, bearing friction materials over time. And these new chemistries have been extensively tested in both laboratory and field conditions, and they have showed improved performance compared to traditional ZDDP chemistries. For testing, technically we validate through 3 stages: lab testing, rig simulations, and field trials. For lab testing, we use ASTM and ISO standard, for example, for wear, oxidation stability, low temperature properties, and corrosion resistance. For rig testing, it mimics shock loads, thermal cycles, and startup conditions. Field trials, they are in real mining equipment over 12 to 18 months to ensure durability. And the result is lubricant that can handle the punishing loads, temperatures, and duty cycles of modern mines.
Yeah, that's great. I always love hearing what happens in the lab. And I'm sure, Bashad, you're going to be able to help us out here because customers are going to say, prove that to us. What you do in the lab is great, but prove that it's going to work in my severe conditions. So Bashad, what kind of results are you seeing at mines that have benefited from some of these new chemistries?
Thanks. I can confirm what Mariam said. In mines, often we see that equipment are running 24/7, like 365 days a year. Shock loads, low temperature, high temperature, high speed cycles, so on and so forth. And when you use a premium product like Prudero UHP drivetrain oil, which is one of our products for the mining industry, in the field, we have seen mines reported up to 6% longer transmission life. So if you consider the value of those equipment around hundreds of millions of dollars, that 6% is a huge saving and reduction in total cost of ownership in a mine that we have observed during the trial. High quality lubricants maintain operational efficiency under extreme condition, which most of the mines are operating at. There are components like final drive, hydraulic system, very tough condition and situation. We always need to consider 5 R's when we talk about lubrication and lubricants. Right lubricant, right amount of lubricant, right time of applying that lubricant, right place to add the lubricant or top up or drain and change, and with the right person, by a right person, which means a person who is trained to actually touch that lubricant from warehousing, shipping, dispensing, application, operation, drain, and disposal. We need a trained personnel. That's the reason that as a part of Petro-Canada services to the mining industry, we provide that training to the oilers, maintenance technicians, reliability engineers, and anybody who actually is involved in that lubrication program. The objective is to develop lubricants that provide robust equipment protection while adhering to sustainability standards at the mine. This sustainability will come from regularity compliance, reduce emission, and improve energy efficiency, and working and community safety, which is very important in this case. We also validate through the oil analysis program, like we monitor the wear metals, oil viscosity, acidity of the oil, flash points, so on and so forth. This ensures that even under harsh realities and conditions, the lubricant performance exactly as promised.
Yeah, I think that all important performance under pressure is going to be the theme, I think, of all the lubricant products that need to go to our mining operators. And I think some of the benefits you just described, even though we could go into many more details and many more examples, I think, but the benefits that you just described really do stack up well against the current industry realities. I think I'll come to you, Sarah, for this question. Do you foresee more change in the industry? Are there any trends you're forecasting out for the lubricants industry over the coming years? And then if yes, how do those trends impact your product life cycle mapping?
Yeah, without a doubt. So certainly the rapidly evolving environmental and regulatory landscape as well has had a really significant impact on how we lay out our product roadmap as we look out over the next 5, 10, and even 15 years, to be honest. So some of the additional trends that we're monitoring that are affecting the mining industry today include things like the advancing of electrification. So an interesting industry poll was done back in 2023, which asked respondents from the mining segment to select which period they expected the greatest change in their mobile mining equipment moving from diesel over to electric. And 25% of the respondents that were interviewed said that they were already investing in the switch. And this is back in 2023. So about 25% of the respondents said they were already investing in the switch back in 2023. And then the largest share of the respondents was 34%. And 34% of the respondents expected to begin making that switch between 2031 and 2035. So coming up quickly here, and something that we are placing a high priority on here at Petro-Canada Lubricants in order to ensure that our lubricants are ready for the advancing of electrification in the next 5, 10, 15 years. We've also seen a really consistent increase in the utilization of autonomous equipment and AI-driven lubrication systems as well. So something that we're keeping a close eye on, again, to ensure that our lubricants are up for the challenge of this highly technical, highly automated equipment and the changes that come with that it places on the lubricant. So a couple of examples of product development work that we have underway right now and planned over the next 5 to 10 years as well include the recent launch of our EAL hydraulic fluid, which we're really proud of here, and subsequent EAL products to round out this line sort of coming down the pipe in the next year to 5 years. We also have plans to reformulate away from chemicals that are classified as a reproductive toxicant, as Miriam alluded to back at the start of the webinar. We are deep into the long-term development of our next generation transmission drivetrain oil as well, which we're really excited about. That product will utilize brand new technology to the industry while eliminating the use of a very common formulation component that does have some harmful environmental effects. So stay tuned for sort of more to come on that. We are also working on the development of all-season products to support the mining industry. So the first of which will be our all-season mining grease. And that product is going to eliminate the need for seasonal change out from winter to summer and everything in between, helping our customers to ultimately improve their efficiency and ultimately their productivity as well. So all of this being said, I do want to add that, transitioning lubricants across a fleet is not simple. It's, our tech service advisors sometimes refer to this as turning an aircraft carrier. So it doesn't happen quickly. It doesn't happen on a dime. And that's why we really do emphasize long runway planning for our product development strategy across the next, again, 5, 10, 15 years. So for example, the next generation transmission drivetrain oil that I mentioned has a 2027 to 2028 rollout target. But we've been working with our customers since 2023 on these products. So that gives our operators, 4 to 5 years to test, validate, and ultimately build their confidence in the next generation technology, and then feel confident to make that switch over. Really, the biggest gift that we can give our customers here is time and sort of a long lead cycle to get the equipment into their fleet and ensure that they're comfortable to make the change well in advance of when the actual deadline comes due.
Yeah, all three of you guys have described a lot about change, right? And change continuing to be a theme in the sector. And as a human, I think like all of us, change sometimes can be a challenge, right? It feels hard to change. But as a challenge, it sounds like Petro-Canada Lubricants is really choosing to innovate in response to that challenge. And so even though the industry sounds from you guys like it's changing faster than ever, obviously we got to respond with how do we help mines with change management? Bashad, let's come to you. How do you help mine operators switch to new formulations, so new products, which sometimes requires new processes, all while minimizing risk to their operations?
Well, a successful transition required detailed planning, operator training, and ongoing support from a technical person to install confidence at mine. A seasoned TSA with a good background and knowledge and expertise and experience with a solid plan and program will, in place of operation will help to achieve these goals. Hasty adaptation reformulated lubricants without through validation may result in reduced durability, compatibility issues, warranty issues, and so on and so forth. As a TSA, we don't look at the cross-references and offering a product only and operation. We look at the bigger picture. We look at the product-to-product compatibility. We look at the product to the equipment, components, seals, and paint compatibility. We look at the operation and performance and reliability which is expected from that piece of equipment. And we look at the OEM warranty, guarantee, and changes that they have in their design and pressure and temperature and load and RPM. So we look at the whole picture and we put that plan together to make sure that the change is as easy as possible and as smooth as possible for the end user. We have more than 12 categories that we look at when we support this change at the mines. There are included like pilot programs, customer acceptance field trials, OEM trials, and so on and so forth. We look at the oil analysis program to check the health of the oil and internal component of an equipment. We work with the OEM, we work with their technical department, we learn from them about their new design, new components, new materials that they are using in those equipment to make sure that the compatibility of this new formulation and new chemistries are happening with those new materials. Sometimes we do the training at the OEM site. We do the trial at the OEM site to look at the performance of our oil in their equipment. We do the training sessions not only for the OEM, but for the customers to train them how they can handle this new chemistry and new formulas in their equipment. And we do a lot of documentation to have them as a reference and go back to them at the end of the day if we need to refer to something. A technical service advisor from one side, we work with scientists like Mariam in our technology team and R&D team. From the other side, we work with the OEM, with their technical engineers, design departments, so on and so forth, to learn from what they do. And combining these two pieces of knowledge and information, we go to the site and then we look at the whole picture of the operation and production, and we pass that knowledge and expertise through the mine operators, through the trainings, our ongoing support that we provide to them on a daily or weekly or monthly basis as needed. So these are the things that we do to support a mine operation, mining personnel, and decision makers at the mine level to go through this change as smooth as possible.
Yeah, Bashad, you just brought me back to one of my first jobs here at Petro-Canada Lubricants was actually putting together those welcome binders that we used to give during transition. So I know the documentation piece certainly is something that's very valuable. And really, not to toot the horn of our team here, but it is consistently one of the most important pieces of feedback I think we get from our partners is how critical those technical services teams are during the transition. Like, you guys really become embedded with the teams on site, sometimes living there for days, weeks at a time. And I know the insights that you guys provide are really valuable. You know, we had a staff there over 500 years of combined experience. I mean, that's really just stuff you can't buy. So I think that's super important for our mine operators. And all of that works really well. So Miriam, how does that support your work? How does your work help support low risk transitions? And what does that look like for reformulation at R&D?
Well, it's years of work. Reformulation isn't just a lab exercise. It involves bench tests, rig tests, and long-term field trials. Today's formulators face three main challenges: meeting tougher regulatory standards and enhancing performance and keeping lubricant compatible with both old and modern mining equipment. And to meet these requirements, new lubricants combine high-performance base oils with next-generation additives. Since the base oil make up most of the formulation, if the legacy product already uses high-quality base oils, that part can often remain unchanged, and this helps maintain key properties that are mainly determined by the base oils, such as oxidation stability, seal compatibility, and friction performance. And this helps ensuring compatibility with older equipment. A major advancement that I can say here is the introduction of dual approval lubricants. I mean that formulations designed to perform well in both older and newer equipment with enhanced performance. And this approach reduces fleet complexity and simplifies maintenance. Looking ahead, close industry collaboration and agreement on standards will be essential to ensure smooth transition to compliant lubricants that continue to produce both old and modern equipment effectively.
Yeah, that's an important perspective because I don't think there's anybody out there, not too many people at least, that have all new fleets, a lot of mixed fleets that we see out in the field. So that's an important theme. And another word I heard you use is collaboration. Collaboration internally with our partners and across the industry with respect to standards. I assume, Sarah, you'll probably have a similar theme going with this question, but how does all of what's just been described impact your customers? And then how are you positioning change with mine operators?
Yeah, you're right on the money. It does come down to collaboration, and I would add transparency and trust. So we always position our reformulations with performance at the forefront, but we're really honest about what has changed and why it's changed. So our customers can get clear timelines from us, detailed technical proof, and then, as I mentioned in the previous section, time to test in their own equipment. And I personally really do feel that, again, time is the biggest gift that we can give to our customers and to mine operators, because these things just do not happen quickly. They take a little bit of time to get comfortable with and to ensure that everything will move smoothly. So by the time a regulatory deadline arrives, customers should have had months or even years of data proving that the new formulation works, and the transition plan should be, if not complete, well underway by the time that deadline approaches. So Petro-Canada Lubricants has a long history of premium, quality, high-performing lubricants, and the same value drivers really that we've always celebrated here are continuing to serve us well in this evolving market as well. So, for example, our next generation transmission drivetrain oil, which I mentioned earlier in the presentation, is going to be positioned as a reformulation of our existing product line. However, it's a major reformulation. So this isn't, a small tweak. This is a major reformulation to the chemical properties of the product. And so the underlying chemistry will have taken our marketing and R&D tech services teams about 4 to 5 years to complete by the time all is said and done. And really, our customers have walked hand in hand with us that entire path. So nothing should really be coming to them as a surprise by the time the regulatory deadline comes due in 2027 and into 2028 as well.
I think no surprises will be appreciated. So maybe, Bashad, is there anything you could add from a technical perspective that'll help keep our mine operators' minds at ease?
Well, customers often worry about losing performance when moving to new technology, ultra-low zinc or next generation lubricants. But in practice, with the right additive chemistry, with the monitoring that we do, and with the testing that we have done, performance is equal or better, as Mariam said, based on the test that we have done. For example, nano-additive technology significantly reduce friction and improve efficiency. At the same time, it maintains extreme pressure protection of the internal components inside an equipment. So these type of additives significantly reduce the coefficient of friction between sliding surfaces and minimize energy loss and improve mechanical efficiency. And all these things has been validated by OEM during the OEM trial or the field trial and data that we collected. So everything is documented and ready to go. Sure.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. I'm looking at the time here, and I'd love to continue this conversation all day. And I know actually we probably will here at the office, but I think it's probably a good time for us to summarize because we have covered a lot. So let me just quickly recap the key points, and then we'll get to that Q&A session because there have been some questions that have come in. So let's start with a summary here. The first big theme I heard is that mining environments are harsher than ever, which means that they really demand lubricants that deliver that maximum uptime and, of course, reliability, peace of mind for our mine operators. Obviously, we talked a lot about regulatory and environmental pressures that are not just impacting our mines, but that are really reshaping the formulations here at Petro-Canada Lubricants. And that in response, you're leading with proactive, compliance, and kind of exciting next generation chemistries that I'm really looking forward to seeing come live in the market. And the last big theme I heard was that transitions can be complicated, they can be complex, but really with long runway planning, lots of time working hand in hand, structured validation, collaboration with OEMs and of course other industry partners, that mines can adopt new lubricants without worrying about risk to their operations. And really, I think the theme that all three of you touched on that rang true with me is that performance is really at the heart of everything that's done at Petro-Canada Lubricants. That the premium formulations not only protect the equipment, obviously important, protect the investments in the equipment, of course, ensure compliance, and really most importantly, I think, is deliver value across the mining life cycle. So thank you guys for your comments. I'm going to move to the Q&A session. Thanks to everybody for their engagement because we have tons of great questions that have come in. So I am going to start. Oh, I like this one. We hear this a lot. I'm going to bring this one to you, Bashad. How easily are miners handling transitioning to biodegradable lubricants?
We all know that change is not easy. Sometimes in some areas of Canada, we have rules and regulations that companies working close to the water and soil and forest and environment, they have to change. But the main reason that change is not easy for the mining operation is because of the performance. Can we ensure with enough data that the performance of the lubricant is there and they gain more from the same, not the same, for the new formulated product compared to the old one? Based on the research and development job that we do in our R&D and the field trials that we do, when we develop a product, we don't want to be a me-too product, like the same as what we had before. We want to improve the aspects of operation. And when we present it to the end user, beside that environmental new feature of that oil, that will be very convincing for them to pick that product instead of just continuing using the old-fashioned old formula in the market. So in short, that's a challenge. But with the data that we provide that comes from the real trial at the OEM and at the field, that's very easy for us to convince the end user to switch.
Perfect. Thanks, Bashad. And Miriam, I'm going to come to you next on kind of the same theme because this question was actually directed for you as well. So what alternatives or eco-friendly additives are being adopted to replace restricted chemistries?
So the eco-friendly additives or the environmentally friendly additives that we use, it's from we work with a leader ADCO for that. And based on that one, we change the formulation and we do reformulation. So the changing that we do in the formulation can range from small tweaks to bigger shifts, such as moving from zinc-based component to ultra-low zinc alternatives. And these adjustments are part of how we keep improving our products. What's most important is that we always design lubricants for performance. And for the end user, this means that we will continue to see a product that performs the same or even better, while at the same time being safer for workers and the environment.
Perfect, thank you. I'm going to consolidate a couple of questions because there was a lot of the same theme of questions here, which was, I knew what happened, asking for some proof, right? So we shared one success story here, but we're asking for a few more examples, maybe off the top of your head, about success stories or case studies where Petro-Canada Lubricants have made an impact on performance at our customers. And Bashad, maybe I'll direct that question to you as someone who works in the field.
Sure. I can give you a couple of interesting stories that we have done. One thing that Petro-Canada technical team does, we do the bearing study, which means we go to a mine and everybody who has seen a mine, there are tons of bearings there, from conveyors to gearboxes to pumps and so on and so forth. So, and we look at all the bearing failures that they had in past year or 2-3 years. And then based on the consultation that we do between technical team of Petro-Canada and maintenance, reliability engineers on site, we pick, let's say, like 20 of them or hundreds of them. Doesn't really matter. The number doesn't matter. Well, it means extra work, but the process is the same. So we look at every single bearing geometry, RPM, temperature, orientation, any dust, contamination, water, chemical, vapors. So we consolidate all of those data into a calculator that we have internally at Petro-Canada TSA team. And based on that, we identify the exact type of grease that they should use, exact time of relubrication, and exact amount of lubricant to be added in that case, in our case, grease. And then after looking out all these things, we give them the results, and based on that result, they reduce the amount of the bearing failure, like by 20% or 30%, depends how they practice it, how they stay on the top of this change. That's step one. But sometimes, because not all the bearings are operating at the same temperature or RPM or load or shock loads, we come up with like 5, 6, 7 different type of greases for one mine, which they don't like. Then the next practice from us is working on the consolidating of these greases. So now we should have different meetings to understand which properties of the grease are vital and essential for this operation, which one is vital operation for the other one, how we can consolidate these two different bearings, one high speed, low load, the other one is low speed, high load, how we can consolidate these greases together. And we save a lot of money. And the money is not the money of the bearing value, that's money of the repair, the time of downtime that you have to take that equipment out, put a new one back, so on and so forth. So that's a bearing study that we do. A lot of time we do the oil drain extension, like not only for the engine oil, for the hydraulic systems. Let's say you have a hydraulic system in a big truck, you change it every 2,000 hours or 1,000 hours based on the OEM recommendation. It takes time, it costs money, you have to pay for the shipping and receiving, base handling, so on and so forth. So what we do, we set a program for you, take different oil samples, monitor the oil health, and predict if you can extend the drain interval from 2,000 hours to 3,000 hours to 4,000 hours. So I have seen cases that they change the oil in 1,000 hours and we extended to 4,000 hours of operation. So it means that the equipment has more uptime. They don't need to come to the shop every 1,000 hours. You need less manpower or worker to do the repair and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of these things going on by products. Petro-Canada has different services, which is not product based. And based on those services, we can also save some money for the customers. I think this meeting today is not a meeting to talk about them, but generally speaking, we don't only focus on the product, we focus on the performance and services that we can offer as well.
Yeah, thanks, Bashad. And I know when we have the last slide up, there'll be some ways the audience can connect with us. You'll have my contact information at least. There'll be a way to scan for our website as well. But I'm assuming, Bashad, if we put somebody in touch with you and they want to talk details, that'd be something you'd be open to?
Sure. Definitely, 100%.
Perfect. Okay, good. So we can follow up with some additional details after the session as well. I'm going to stay kind of on the same theme here. Again, I'm just trying to summarize some questions together. So Bashad, one more to you. I think you kind of touched on it there at the end of your answer, but what kind of tools or services, or can you expand maybe quickly on how we can help our customers with condition monitoring?
Sure. We have a list of things that we offer to the customers. Doesn't mean that all of them can be and will be used by that specific customer. Things like oil monitoring analysis. So what happens, they send the oil samples to the lab. I or one of my partners, we look at the oil samples, test results, and if that's critical, we comment on that. We do a lot of compatibility testing. So if they want to top up a product with a different product, we do that. We look at it. For some selected customers, we do the gear inspection for the mining operation, the processing plant, or the shovel inspection for the shovels that work in the open pit mine. We do the bearing study. We already talked about that. We look at their boroscope. We do the boroscope testing if there is a natural gas engine that needed to be evaluated or tested or monitored every 6 months or every year or something like that. We do the consolidation. We do a lot of trainings on site to make sure that OEM, to make sure that the loop technicians, reliability engineers, so on and so forth, they know and understand how they should handle the lubricants. So that's a package that we provide, and it comes with our product based on the contract that we have. And based on the customer need, we go through it and we pick the right tool for that specific account, and we help them.
Perfect. Okay, Miriam, I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to try to summarize the questions together. But really, this is going to talk about, with all of the regulatory changes, really how much have lubricant formulations changed? And there's a lot of questions here around ZDDP, heavy metals, zinc, lead, barium. How are the restrictions or regulatory changes really impacting the formulations?
So in terms of change in the formulation, so as I mentioned before, that the change in the formulation can be, because of the regulatory changes, can range from tweak to bigger shifts. But the most important thing that we always design lubricants for performance and to get the same or better performance. And for end user, this means that they see the same product, but it's better in terms of the same or better in terms of performance, or and also being safer for workers and the environment. In terms of changes about ZDDPs, I can provide some background about that. So ECHO requested toxicity testing on 14 types of ZDPs a few years ago. And the appeal on 12 types was successful, but the industry lost appeal on 2 types of ZDPs. So the testing was completed, and the outcome is a section on them in the near future. So for now, there is no required testing on the other 12 type of ZDPs. However, we believe it's better to use innovative phosphorus antivers, which they do not contain zinc, and can provide peace of mind for meeting environmental and also safety regulations over the long term.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Okay, Sarah, I haven't forgotten about you. So maybe let me come to you, because there's a lot of theme as well here around biodegradable lubricants, sustainability, protection of the environment. But one particular question was kind of interesting about how practical really are biolubricants for heavy mining equipment?
Yeah, a fair question, no doubt. I mean, there does seem to be kind of an interesting paradox there between what we perceive of a biodegradable lubricant and then heavy duty mining equipment. I can understand where that question sort of comes from. I would say a pretty common misperception in the industry is that, when you're pursuing a biodegradable lubricant or a more eco-friendly lubricant, the natural consequence is that you need to trade off performance. I would say that is a fairly common perception across the industry, that you can't sort of have it all. If you're going to go for one priority, then you'll be trading off performance in another category. And I guess we can kind of dispel that myth a little bit in terms of the formulation and the performance requirements that we've seen out of our biodegradable lubricants and the eco products that we are working on currently. The reality, as Bashad mentioned, and Miriam mentioned this as well today, I believe, is that the base oil really is a really important component of the formulation, and then additive technology really just seeks to improve and enhance the performance properties of a base oil. The reality is that in many cases, we're using the same premium, high quality base oils in our biodegradable lubricants that we do in our heavy duty industrial ones. So, it comes down to additive selection and kind of the different performance properties of those additives. However, the base is the same, and we're starting from that same high quality, premium quality base oil in most instances that our customers have come to know and love and trust. So really that hopefully can dispel some of that misperception, or maybe that myth, I would even say, that biodegradable and eco has to come at the expense of product performance, because it's just simply not the case. It's not what we've observed in the lab or in the field.
Perfect. And I think we have time for one last question. So Bashad, I'm going to close with you, kind of grouping some questions together here. How do Petro-Canada Lubricants products kind of help keep the environment safe or help lower pollution in the environment?
Okay. If you look at the history of these environmentally acceptable or biodegradable products, years ago, they had 33 different definitions of biodegradable products. But today we have two major categories, which another one is added recently. We had a lot of inherently biodegradable lubricant, which means 60% of the lubricant will be degraded longer than 28 days. So we don't know how many days, but longer than 28 days. Then we have rapidly or readily biodegradable lubricants, which 60% or more of lubricant will be degraded less than 28 days. And it was in general everything altogether. And now we have the EAL, which is environmentally acceptable lubricant, which means 60% or more of every single component should be degraded less than 28 days. So I don't say that at this moment, this being environmental friendly is 100% perfect, but year after year, regulation after regulation, we get better. In general, industry gets better in it. And we follow these frameworks that are there, like by TSCA, DSL, EPA, REACH, so on and so forth, that we talk about it. And today, as we speak, the EAL is coming. As Sarah said, we have this product in our product line, which means 60% or more of every single component of the lubricant will be degraded in less than 28 days. For sure, years later, they will probably make it, shorter period or higher percentage. And by following those rules, and there are a lot of tests that we do, like I can't remember the whole name, but 301B, if I remember correctly, for the oil, for the toxicity in the water and so on and so forth. So we do a lot of testing to make sure that this new formulation that we have will not pollute the environment, and we follow all the rules and regulation and procedures that we have. And to finish my answer, I think there is a program in Canada, has been there for years. They call it EHC, Environmental Handling Charge, if I'm right. And it means for every single package of lubricant which is sold, there is a recycling program in place, that every single lubricant manufacturer contribute to that. So even the packages will be collected and will be recycled based on the cost of the EAC that's there.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's a good place to end it, guys. Looking at time, that's probably all the time we have for today. So we'll have to close the Q&A period here. A few people have already put their contact information in, so we'll follow up with you guys. I see all of that in the question and answer periods. If we didn't get to answer your questions live, we will follow up with you individually. So thank you again for all your engagement. And of course, I'd like to thank Sarah, Miriam, and Bashad. Thank you guys for sharing your insights with us. I learned a lot even after having worked here. And thanks to everybody who joined us today. It's not fun if we just do this to ourselves. So thank you for joining us today. As I mentioned, we'll follow up with the resources. So we have, case studies, white papers, brochures, things like that if you need, all of which can help you implement what we discussed today. And of course, while you're waiting to receive the recording of the webinar or any additional materials you've requested, you can get in touch with me if you'd like. You can email me or you can phone me. My contact information's on the screen, and I will make sure to connect you with the right person in our organization who can help you out. You can check out our website at any time, or if you've got a little mobile device, you can scan that QR code with your mobile device, and that'll enable you to leave your contact information for one of the members of our team to get in touch with you. I know I certainly look forward to continuing the conversation with you guys, and I'm sure all of the Petro-Canada Lubricants mining team would be happy to partner with you and continue the conversation on the future of mining lubrication. That's all we have for today, folks. Thank you for your time. Stay safe and dig deep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.